I'm kickstarting all the time, but not right now.
Oh boy, I'm Evan Coy. I didn't change those. I'm still a notable book burner, and we're here today with our special guest star.
Disappointed and annoyed.
And our regular guest star.
Michael Draven.
Michael
You can follow
Draven.
me on Instagram.
And Martin Kinney, he's counting all those Sheryl Crows.
Oh,
One,
Every
two.
day is
I
a
see
winding
two.
road.
Oh
And there
boy.
she is. She's coming in.
Oh, Sheryl Crow.
Look
Look
at
at
her
that.
go.
Oh, awesome.
Go Cheryl.
Go Cheryl. Go Cheryl.
I think it's her birthday.
Apologies to Jack Kirby.
Apologies to Jack Kirby. We're gonna
Oh.
talk The Crow today. We're actually gonna do comics today.
Yep.
Could we get a goose honk again?
You want another honk?
I want to turn. Can you turn up your volume a little bit on that honk?
I can. It's at the honk. The honk is at 100%, Evan.
Okay,
the
I'm
world
sorry.
can't handle more honk.
All right, I apologize. We're here today to actually talk comics for once, because we don't talk comics anymore. But we're gonna do The Crow.
Yeah. Did you want to go around the horn?
Let's go around the horn first. You can start the first horn.
The first horn. What's going on with me? I'm working on putting together the Wesley the Dark Ages graphic novel.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's just pages of black.
Yeah, I was inspired
Dark.
by The Crow.
Yep.
And actually, that's not a lie. I was inspired in part, but to like making comics as a whole. Of course, you always want to make something that looks as good as what James O'Barr does.
What was that
but,
noise?
That was
That
a
was
Facebook
me.
notification.
But
You said have my computer open.
I mean, the jury's out if there's ever been a more beautiful book in
Taking care of it.
black and white than James O'Barr's Crow. But what else is going on? School year's wrapping up.
Yeah, you almost done?
Cleaning my room. I took tomorrow off because I'm going to bring Lucy into my wife's classroom, so that'll be fun. What else is going on? What else? Oh, I stayed up late last night doing that Sheryl Crow drawing. And
8:47 he was up till 8:47
I'll have you know
p.m.
it was 10. It was 10. And I have another bonus drawing that's going to be in my powerful point up here.
What kind of drawing?
A bonus.
Oh, I thought you said a different B word.
A different B word.
Yes.
Are you trying to shoehorn in
Maybe.
our unfortunate sponsor? But we were desperate for cash.
We'll
so
do that at some other point.
But we have to-
Should we do the sponsor? Or should we wait
No,
for
it's,
later?
it's the halfway point.
Okay.
Okay.
Haven't you ever seen a podcast?
Nope.
Come
Never.
on.
I just do this one.
I've got nothing. I sound really tinny too. I don't know if that's weird.
It sounds all weird to me.
Does it?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that's what it
How
is. What
dare
it
you.
is.
But,
Nothing going on here at the shop. We got Magic this Friday, Magic this Saturday. Again, man, why do my levels sound so weird?
Well, anyway, I made $40 selling comics on the internet this week. That's pretty cool.
Oh, Wesley Comics?
I put a Wesley book in each one of the packs.
Got to give them away. Got it.
No, I don't give it. Actually, Wesley number 9 has done the best best out of any of these single issues that I've done. I mean, it is triple size and it's got a whole story from beginning to end all in there. But yeah, sold some Shade the Changing Man, sold some Question, and I'm going to be working on getting rid of more of my extra stuff.
Well, good news. If you missed the Shade the Changing Man, I've just brought some in. So
Oh, really?
you can cycle through again, yeah.
Oh, for real? That's
From
so
your
funny.
from your personal collection?
Yeah.
Why do I sound? Everybody else sounds fine. I just feel like I sound weird.
You sound fine, Evan.
Okay, thank you. Martin, what's going on with you?
I brought in some Shade the Changing Man comics. They're available for sale if anybody's looking for them.
I did have quite a few people interested.
Did you really?
Yeah, well, it's all that kayfabe swap group, man.
Yep.
People are looking for that deep stuff. You know, people aren't looking for Spider-Man.
Maybe it's time for our sponsor now.
Is it?
If people are looking for deep stuff.
Nah, we'll come back to that.
We'll keep building up.
Michael,
to it.
what's going on with you?
I'm doing a lot of the normal stuff, but I'm going to use this opportunity to shout out that I'm going to see my friend Aaron Berlin play in a band called Ritual Atrophy at the Lost Horizon this weekend in Syracuse. The doors were open at 7 if any of you guys want to see the best anti-racist black metal band I've ever heard of.
That's worth a honk
Great
too.
time,
I think.
yeah.
Let's give that a honk.
It's going to be awesome. So that's all that's new and exciting for me.
Where's the honk?
Excellent.
Well, back to James O'Barr's The Crow.
I'm gonna give a soda open since I didn't hear a honk.
It was there. It was kind of drowned out. We'll have to work on the honk volume for future. Oh,
There's some bonus honks. for
a glorious honk.
you. Glorious Honk. That's the name of my debut album. Only horn samples. Yeah, so we're going to
For
talk
the
about...
horny.
We're already going
tell
off
us
the
tell us
rails.
about the Crow. I
wrong.
was gonna have Mike.
I was wrong about what I said yesterday
About what?
as we were leaving. My hopes for the podcast.
Oh yeah,
It's
whatever.
gone.
I was gonna have Michael actually talk about the Crow because I feel like Michael's maybe the most
Okay.
knowledgeable about the Crow. But
Okay.
no. He deferred to you
yeah,
and your
I
and the
feel like-
PowerPoint here.
Since you have a PowerPoint, I mean, I'll add in if you want every once in
Yes.
a while. But I was gonna leave that helm to you.
Well, I am known for my powerful pointing, so I'll take it away. So the Crow was inspired by James O'Barr. His girlfriend was killed by a drunk driver.
Age 18.
Yes, she was very young. He had a few too many drinks at the bar and called her for a ride, and she just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh wow.
That just
Dang.
got darker.
Yeah, that did get darker. I didn't know that part of it.
Yeah.
James was James O'Barr's first comic work. I think it was published in 1981 by Excalibur Presents, along with some other. The cartoonist kayfabe group kind of aligns the Crow and James O'Barr with something called like Outlaw Comics, where there's lots of violence, black and white, tons of detail. I'm not sure how widely accepted that term
I'm not
is,
super
but,
familiar with that term.
I'm not either.
but
Have you heard that before, Martin?
No.
Outlaw. Okay.
But they tended to define that. Some other guys who were doing kind of outlaw comics, Guy Davis, who did Baker Street, Vince Locke, who did Dead World, Tim Vigil would be another one who did Faust, Grips, and there's another one I'm forgetting, but another part of that group that does like that real gritty, high detail ink, black and white style. So one of the things about the Crow that I think sets it apart from a lot of other comics, particularly of that era, are the variety of media used in this and just the level of detail. It is a really beautiful book. If you haven't read it, it's definitely worth a flip through. He's got ink. James O'Barr has ink. He has painting. He has pencil. Very very lushly detailed artwork. Some parts are directly traceable to Will Eisner. In fact, I think there is actually an Eisner storefront labeled.
Yes, you're correct.
Later on in the, I think it's part of an early thing when he's walking down the street in one of these things. Well, I'll find it a little bit later on, but
Just beautiful artwork, though. We
Oh,
can
yeah.
come back to
Absolutely gorgeous book.
the body of
that. That's great.
the Crow is inspired by Iggy Pop, known for being shirtless all the time, even now into his 80s.
Iggy Pop isn't in his 80s, is he?
He is at the very least in his 80s. He's been
Yeah.
around for a long time.
Yep.
Martin can Google that one for us.
I don't feel like that's
you're
correct.
booing that Iggy Pop is alive?
Well, no. I apologize.
Fun
Wow.
fact,
Apologies to Jack Kirby and Iggy Pop.
Iggy Pop is a vegan straight edge now.
Oh, is he
So,
really?
That is one of his secrets to longevity. If you ask him,
So now he's gonna live forever.
he might. He very well may.
76 years old.
76.
See, so I was
Okay.
right. Thank
All
you.
right.
You're welcome.
I'll stand corrected.
I'll accept everybody's apologies after the podcast.
Well, it seems like he's in his 80s. But the face of the Crow.
Clean living.
What's that?
Clean living.
The face of the Crow is inspired by Peter Murphy from Bauhaus, which is he's probably like the most, when you think of goth in your mind, it's probably Peter Murphy of Bauhaus. There's a deluxe edition which we have a physical copy of here, which is awesome. James O'Barr went back in and added some additional sequences, some additional artwork. I mean, anytime you can get more pages from James O'Barr, I think that's worth the effort. Does it really make the whole thing better? I don't know for sure, but I'm happy to see more of his artwork. So at least in that regard, I don't know, because sometimes having a tightly paced thing makes the whole experience a little bit better. But he wanted to add more stuff, so he's the creator. So you know what? Go for it.
Pacing is the key.
Martin, what are your thoughts on that? Like going back in these special edition things, and like, I always want to see more artwork because it's a different experience. But
Yeah, and sometimes they can go overboard where they're like just fixate on like issue 2
yes,
and they just rework it to death. I'm honestly I'm mixed on
Yeah.
stuff like this because I like to see, like you said, the new stuff, but I also don't like to see them ruin what the original was or.
it's the George Lucas type
Exactly.
thing where
it's which way you going, George Lucas, or are you going on just touching up and making things look nicer.
Because I always think like correcting typos and things like that,
Yeah.
or if there's like color errors or line, like okay, yeah, you're gonna fixing that stuff. I feel like is good. Again, I also like James O'Barr doesn't do a ton of stuff.
James O'Barr's last foray into the comic book world was in 2013. Not counting a cover he's done here or there, he hasn't written anything in 10 years now.
So I almost think it's you take what you can get. Like if he wants to do more
yes.
pages and you're a James O'Barr fan, like yeah, you just take it.
Like one of the last hurrahs there at the Great Northern Mall up here was they had a comic sale or a Comic-Con this a few years ago now. I don't know if it was pre-pandemic or just people getting out of the pandemic. I don't recall. But I was looking through the different vendors, and one guy had a lot of different horror comics, and he had a vein of Crow stuff. And in there was a James O'Barr comic called Pink Dust. Have you ever heard of this?
No,
I have
maybe,
not.
Maybe I should have grabbed it and brought it. But
well, let's go back in time.
No, he meant from his house, I think.
Oh, so you actually bought it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I
Oh, yeah.
I
If
misunderstood that. I thought you meant you should have grabbed it
What
while
was
you
it
were
called?
there.
well, I mean to bring today. I just didn't think
Yeah,
of
what
it
was
today.
it called?
My bad.
Pink Dust. Pink Dust. I think it's a collection of short stories that James O'Barr had done. Yeah, but if you see a James O'Barr comic in the wild that is artwork feature, like it's his artwork and his story, you pick that up.
Yeah.
And that was I think there were one or two things that I picked up from him. Of James O'Barr's stuff. And I got my copy of The Crow from here, and it's actually signed by James O'Barr to like a girl named Tiffany,
She was a good
or
customer.
something like that. Yeah, that's why she sold her personalized copy of The Crow back to the
She's a
comic shop.
very nice lady.
Poetry and artistic motion
Well, now I
is what
have
Pink Dust is.
yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, those are some excellent things. There's a Cartoonist Kayfabe episode on Pink Dust.
Not
and that's
sponsored.
No, they're not. They're not sponsoring. But I enjoy their stuff. Yeah. So, some of the other things that here's the total bibliography of The Crow in comics form, at least. So, The Crow was 4 issues. 1989 was when it was fully published by James O'Barr, collected with the additional new material as The Crow Special Edition. That was in 2001 or 2011. The Crow Dead Times. It's a 3-issue 1996 Kitchen Sink Press comic. Story by James O'Barr and John Wagner. Art by Alex Maleev. Collected as The Crow Midnight Legends Volume 1. Dead Time. That was in 2012. The Crow Flesh and Blood. 3 issues 1996 Kitchen Sink again. Story by James Vance. Art by Alex Maleev.
Did you say Flesh and Blood?
Yes.
Sorry, inside joke.
Great
Yeah.
inside joke.
Yeah. I got no humor from that. Good.
You didn't. It's not an inside joke for you.
Excellent.
It's for the grown-ups.
We're doing great.
We are.
You just sit there and have your one side of your face. shown.
Yes. We can never get the blocking right for us, but that's okay.
Or us. over
Fully
here.
off the page.
You're okay.
The Crow, Flesh and Blood, 3 issues, 1996. Kitchen Sink, story by James Vance. Art, again, by Alex Maleev. Collected as The Crow Midnight Legends Volume 2. The Crow City of Angels, 3 issues, 1996. Kitchen Sink, adaptation from the screenplay. So maybe that's better than the movie.
Probably better.
It's probably much better than the movie.
The Crow Wild Justice, 3 issues.
You're making it sound like the movie's bad.
I
City
am
of
not
Angels.
a huge fan of City.
Oh,
of
oh,
Angels.
City of
City of
Angels.
Angels,
I
yeah.
zoned out. Sorry.
No. You're good. You're good.
That's my second mistake. My third mistake, Aaron, you get to punch me.
No, well, I'm not really a puncher.
Just in the
But,
arm.
Or the
yeah,
jump.
City of Angels just ended up being like edited by the studio because they wanted to be more like the original.
Okay, I had
And
wondered
they-
what was
and they
going
just-
on
they
with that
just
film.
chopped it up, and it was not the intention of many of the people who were in there. Hey, there's one by Charlie Adler, The Crow Wild Justice.
Ooh.
Artwork by Charlie Adler, The Crow Midnight Legends Volume 3, Wild Justice. So if you're a fan of Walking Dead and The Crow, that might be something worth checking out. The Crow Waking Nightmares, 4 issues, 1997 and 1998. Story by Christopher Golden, art by Philip Hester. That sounds like a good read there too. And The Crow's Cycle of Shattered Lives, one shot,
don't think that did
1998,
anything,
Kitchen
but-
Sink. The Crow and Razor. Razor is another kind of outlaw comic. You're familiar with Razor at all? Run
No.
across any of those? She's like a outlaw comic bad girl type.
Do you guys know Razor?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Do you?
Martin knows. Todd McFarlane presents. This will be interesting to see. The Crow, 10 issues, 1999. Story by John J. Muth. I wish John J. Muth was painting it too. Jamie Tolagson and Paul Lee. Collected as The Crow Midnight Legends.
Are you related to Paul Lee?
Resurrection. All the Lees are all related. Volume 5, Resurrection, issue 6 through 10, collected as Midnight Legends Volume 6, Touch of Evil. The French Crow, Oui Oui.
No, is this we lodge in feet?
Je suis Muzzy. The French Crow, 5 volumes, 2002 to 2011. Gout d'Or Productions. I'm not gonna suffer through that. Medieval Crow, published in France. The Crow Death and Rebirth, 5 issues, 2012, IDW by John Shirley. Art by Kevin Colden.
I have read that series. You don't need to read it.
Okay.
The one after it, though, that you're about to get to, that is worth checking out.
The Crow Skinning the Wolves.
Skinning the Wolves is fun. It's not an Eric Draven story. It's a World War II Crow story. It's kind of hard to not go into detail with a 3-issue series without spoiling anything.
Yeah.
But it's got some really, really pretty painted covers by James O'Barr. The script is written by him as well. It's a short read, but it's pretty strong. And I've never gotten my hands on Cure Air, unfortunately, but I've heard good things about that as well. I know that's another not Eric Draven Crow. That's a detective with a crow girl trying to solve her own murder with the detective still being alive, but her obviously being dead.
Yeah, I feel like bringing back Eric Draven is just, why would you?
Well, so I don't know if you know this, but that 10-issue run that McFarlane did brought back Eric Draven. So I don't know how that is. I haven't read it, but that was what they did. They reworked the Draven story into 10-issue format for McFarlane's presentation.
But was that just a
I don't know.
reimagining of the initial story?
I've got to assume so. I'd have to hunt it down and find out, but I don't know for sure.
Okay.
That would be interesting to see what that is. And anytime Todd McFarlane gets involved, I love him as a person, but I don't know. Some of the creative choices he makes are maybe not the most enjoyable. Anyway, and then the X-Files and The Crow combined for the Conspiracy one-shot in 2014. And then Crow Pestilence by Frank Bill, art by Drew Moss. Hey, there we go. And Cartoonist Kayfabe did a bit on this too.
Take a drink.
Tim Vigil of Faust fame tried to do a crossover with The Crow. He released some sketches and page layouts for the project. Ultimately, didn't go anywhere. But this image that I have up on screen, pretty strong. I mean, Tim Vigil is a great artist. He had a Kickstarter for the Collected Faust, which I did support, and I think that's going to be arriving around June. So I'm excited to see what that thing looks like. But this thing would have been awesome.
Did we want a Razor fun fact?
Yeah.
Razor, they were going to do a movie back in 2009 with the Crow production company behind it.
Very interesting.
Really?
Failed.
If I may add another side note also, Aaron, I don't want to spot check your PowerPoint, but you forgot one entry in the Crow franchise. There is a Crow hack/slash crossover.
Oh, okay.
Really?
See, I
There
just
is.
copied and pasted from Wikipedia.
Okay,
so-
Wikipedia, you need to update that
Wikipedia.
information. The Crow hack/slash She Wears Shadows by Tim Seeley. It is very recent, though. It's from 2020, so it might just not have been added to the page
Maybe
yet.
it's up to me to update Wikipedia.
It is. It's up to you, Aaron.
The power is yours.
Yeah, so let's talk about the music.
Absolutely.
So the character drawn to look like a combination of Peter Murphy and Iggy Pop. References to Joy Division. So some of the songs directly referenced here are Atmosphere, which is the Christmas story, Atrocity, Exhibition. References to The Cure, the lyrics to Hanging Garden are printed in it. There's also, I believe, a chapter called White Light, which is a reference to the Velvet Underground. So lots of music things going on here. And do you want to make the connections between James O'Barr and music?
No.
No. Okay.
Honestly, I feel like you're much more adept at that than I am. I think I was very fascinated by obviously James O'Barr, very much involved in the music world.
Like
he
a
did-
musician himself who's played in bands.
What was he? Because I was having a hard time
That's what it
determining
said
that.
in the interview.
Yes.
He's. I know he'd collaborated with a lot of people visually, doing music to read to The Crow and things like that with certain bands. He worked with Spin Magazine, which you and I were talking about. Spin Magazine was
Where he did reviews.
the not the alternative to Rolling Stone when we were kids, but I feel like it was
Definitely more up to date.
It was the more rock and roll, the younger, hipper version of Rolling Stone, at least to me as like a teenager. And he would write reviews for that. I do appreciate the fact that he said he tried to stay positive with the reviews because he didn't want to shit on anybody's career like early
Yeah.
on.
When I did music reviews, that's kind of what I did. If I didn't like something, I didn't talk about it.
Yeah, and the fact that meeting all of these bands early on, even his visual style added a lot to, I think, the scene at the time in regards to like goth industrial. That this very much went hand in hand.
It was like he was pals with Skinny Puppy. That makes me very happy because the Skinny Puppy looked like the Crow early on. I mean, in some ways they still do, but that was cool. to
Yeah,
see
and I
that.
think it's interesting too. Like again, doing these interviews or reviews for Spin, and then when bands would come to Detroit, he would then see Trent Reznor and be like, "Here's a copy of my book." See New Order and be like, "Here's a copy of The Crow." And as such, I think word got around in these circles that like it resonated with these goth industrial acts. And I'm always amazed how quickly everything happens too. So you're talking like
like he finishes it in
89, and then by 92 there's a major motion picture in the works.
Yeah.
93 they're filming, so like within 4 years it goes from like, hey, I finished my book, to like, oh, we're in the middle of this very wild thing. But I don't know if there's more music stuff you wanted to touch on, because I do think like when we deal with a lot of comic creators that also dabble in music and how music is important to them, and I think even The Crow especially so
Oh,
in
yeah.
the book and in the movie.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, The Crow. The music is super important. It's referenced a ton. We were talking a little bit earlier that the music that's referenced in the book is different than what ends up on the final soundtrack, because it's a lot of Joy Division. It's Velvet Underground, The Cure, these things, and then what ends up on the soundtrack is kind of more of the alternative thing. And even the Crow
Yeah.
himself is kind of updated to be more alternative in the film. I don't think it's a huge departure from the original, but it is a tweak. And I guess it makes sense because you want to make it make sense to your target audience of your MTV viewers in
So
1994.
here's more of an interesting thing to kind of tie into that. They made Eric Draven a musician for the movie, which is wonderful, and we're talking about all these ties. But in the original comic, he's a mechanic.
Oh, okay.
He's not a musician at all. So it's
He is a
it's-
bit of a dancer.
He is a bit of a dancer.
He's a
He's
dancer.
a great dancer. But it's funny that with the music changing the way it was, not counting the Joy Division cover that we get in the Crow movie soundtrack.
Great cover.
Yes, great cover. Dead Souls by Nine Inch Nails, and the one song that The Cure wrote for the movie, which was Burn. We don't get, like you're saying, Aaron, that music, despite Eric being a musician, and that would have been a great way for James to kind of tie some of that together. But
And this is probably less expensive too. To
Yeah.
get these songs.
like we were. Go
One
ahead,
of the
Evan.
things about the Cure that I thought was interesting, and you can maybe fill in the details a little bit more, was that James O'Barr was looking for a different Cure song, but they potentially he liked this movie and book so much that they wrote an original piece.
Robert
yes.
Smith?
Yeah, Robert Smith.
Yes. I can't speak too much on that, but I can speak on the fact that they didn't play it for a very long time after.
Yeah, I think it went
After
like
the movie?
decades before they started playing it live.
But it wasn't for any reason other than they just didn't understand, or they didn't think that there would be people that wanted to hear them play that song.
Huh.
And I found that very fascinating.
Well, yeah, there's a certain demographic for that. I mean, they have such a huge catalog over such a huge
They do.
amount of time that I'm sure they could play for 3 hours and still not play the song that you wanted to hear.
Oh, I'm sure.
So I think they've enjoyed bringing it back in. I think I watched them perform that live from maybe a couple of years ago.
Yeah, they started playing it regularly, I think around 2011 or so.
Yeah, and I mean it's a good song. I would think that it's. We were talking about this before we started today. I think it's one of their better songs before they went into Wild Mood Swings and then kind of took a break, because Wild Mood Swings was supposed to be another album kind of like Wish or not the one that Just Like Heaven is on. Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, where every member of the band was writing songs so they can contribute more, and it was less of a total vision of Robert Smith and kind of a grab bag. Wild Mood Swings, I think, just went off the rails a little bit too much. It didn't. I don't know. Just not as entertaining to listen to.
Martin, it's the 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
There's black and white comics. Boom, The Crow's in the middle of it. You're a little bit older. Do you like? This isn't your wheelhouse, right?
No, not at that time. No.
Yeah,
That was,
like what? I'm just curious as to what I guess the comic scene would look like. Are they trying to capitalize on things like Ninja Turtles is this huge property,
Oh,
and
definitely, yeah.
looking for the next Ninja Turtles? And even though the Ninja Turtles and Crow are not,
A little bit, yeah, but a lot of it was just this artistic expression that they wanted to get out, and they had the ability now with these smaller presses where they weren't
In the direct market.
yeah, and they could get their stuff actually out there. They could get it published and didn't have to play within the DC Marvel corporate.
Because I want to say
Cogs.
that this thing sold. Some people are saying close to 1 million copies, but it sold at least 750,000 copies. And I'm not sure how many reprints and countries that is,
counts,
but
yeah.
like, it is amazing that the singular artist's vision is being so widely seen. And then again, everything is gobbled up so quickly. I was just in my mind going, how does that happen? Is it just everybody's just snatching up properties? You think like and just taking a chance
Yeah.
because it's like, well, we can talk to this person if it's $50,000 we give them to hold on to the property for a year, maybe we could turn it into that $100 million movie. And I don't know, just an interesting time.
It's amazing how quickly it went from comic to film.
Well, the same thing with Turtles too. I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah,
Turtles was one of those things that
6
went.
years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like it was a toy and a TV show and a movie. It was like boom, boom, boom. Not boom
And I mean-
comics, but
And I mean, the Crow definitely not. I mean, the early Ninja Turtles comics are fairly violent too, but this is a whole nother gear.
Yeah.
Beyond that.
The Crow was the first R-rated comic book movie.
Oh, was it?
It was.
Wow.
And it actually had to go in front of the film board, I think 5 or 6 times, because it was passed at NC-17 the first 5 or 6. They had to cut out some extra footage because it was deemed too violent for theaters originally.
And this is in the 90s.
This
when,
was in the
They
90s,
kind of went
yes.
ham on all that stuff. Some other things about the music. The soundtracks did continue with the sequels. James O'Barr and John Bergen created Fear and Bullets, which is an album to go along with the Crow graphic novel in 1994. The Crow City of Angels soundtrack includes some other songs by Hole, Bush also covered In a Lonely Place by Joy Division, White Zombie, Korn, and others were on that album.
see, I don't like that lineup for the Crow. I don't feel like that's. I mean, they're all bands that I like.
They're kind of
but this-
losing focus on
No,
what it is.
the lineup from the first soundtrack was definitely better, but
Yeah.
that definitely reads 19. What was the second
1994?
movie? 94, 95 for the second movie. That definitely reads 1990.
Wasn't it
96?
96?
94
That
was
reads
the first
94 was the first one,
1996
I'm sorry.
to me, especially the White Zombie and Korn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
But
well,
there is a Pantera track on the first Crow album, and that's kind of an outlier too.
Yeah. Yeah, there was this connection between like comic films and like metal for a long time. Like
Yeah.
it seemed like a lot of fans wanted metal to be on every single. Like if there's a
What'd you say, Blade?
Blade.
Well, like the,
Oh, yeah,
the
Blade.
Spawn soundtrack,
Yup.
where it was all like the
Well-
mashups of techno and metal.
yeah, so that's something I want to get into too. The film was directed by Alex Proyas, who would go on to direct Dark City, I, Robot, and others. I really like
Others
Dark
is
City.
really
Is
good.
anybody
Others is good.
others? Yeah,
Yeah.
you like that one?
I did.
Has anybody seen Dark City?
My film teacher recommended it to me almost 10 years ago, and I still haven't managed to watch
it's
it.
good.
But I've heard
It's
a lot
good.
of great things about it.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, for me, if you like dark atmospheric things with like kind of surrealistic horror things happening, it's cool. The original film had a soundtrack featuring The Cure, Nine Inch Nails, like we were talking about, Rage Against the Machine, and other stuff. Nine Inch Nails covered the Joy Division song. It's not actually called Closer. It's called
Dead Souls.
Yeah. But Joy Division has a song called, or an album called Closer.
They do.
The Cure wrote an original song called Burn, which we were talking about. So let's talk about the differences from the comics. So,
Yeah, Michael, do you want to get into
Yeah, we can do
differences
that.
between comic and because I know you were talking to us about that.
We were talking about it a little bit earlier, and I'm seeing quite a few or a couple of the things up here on the board as I'm looking behind. So Top Dollar is the big villain in the
Great villain name, by the way.
Yes,
I love
Top
that.
Dollar. Top Dollar is a great villain in the film too. I think he's written very strongly.
he just popped up in Nope, I
really?
believe, that actor.
So I think one of the better ways to get into this conversation is the comic doesn't have a plot like the movie. There's not a giant overarching, and you feel free to correct me because you just reread this recently.
Yeah, you're right
It's-
with what you're saying.
It's not quite a big, I'm the ruler of the city and I clear everything that happens. It's more of Eric seeking revenge on people who wronged him directly in the comics. The movie had to, I'm assuming they just fleshed it all out for cinematic value, added a lot more characters. It's really just 4 or 5.
Well,
Correct me
they
either way.
kind of combined some characters.
Yeah.
Like Captain Hook and Albrecht are combined
Yep.
into one character.
And
And
we
they
have-
they had to Hollywoodize it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To think about like how a movie going audience would receive the Crow character and create some more relatability, like with Sarah and with
exactly
Shelley.
exactly.
And then also create this little bit of is he not going to be okay? Like Top Dollar's girlfriend knows a little bit about the
Yes.
occult, and they crack the thing where like if you hurt the Crow, you hurt Eric Draven too.
Yes.
Yeah, the
to
completely
make him
unnecessary
vulnerable.
part of the film.
What's that?
The completely unnecessary part of the film.
Her? The
the Crow's gotten his revenge. He's going off, and then they had this whole other plot where, oh, we gotta kill his crow now. for no
There is
reason.
there is a potentially a reason why a lot of that happened, and it has something to do with scenes that Alex Proyas has said that he didn't shoot or maybe shot. We don't really have a straightforward answer one way or another, but apparently there was supposed to be a character who acted more like a mentor to Eric throughout the film. He's
Oh.
supposed to be played by Michael Berryman. His name was something along the lines of like the cowboy, something very generic.
Oh,
Because of
in the comic, there's that skull-faced guy who shows up.
Exactly. Unfortunately, because of the tragedy that took place on the set, they weren't able to film all of those things. But that would have filled in a lot of the issue, or not the issues, but it would have filled in a lot of the here's why.
The mythos.
Yes, the
Yeah.
mythos. Here's why Top Dollar's doing this. Here's what's going on with this. Here's what's going on with that. And it would also explain how Eric could somehow have powers, sometimes have powers, sometimes not in certain points in the movie, how he could do some things versus others.
Yeah, we were talking about that. We have regular strength, the Crow. And Then you
Yes.
have extra strength, the Crow.
Yeah, I didn't think he had super strength, I mean, which he does apparently,
Yep.
but I think that his powers do fluctuate a little bit, and that's
Yes.
kind of like a just canon for the character.
When he's feeling more gothy, his powers grow.
Enhanced strength, speed, agility, cat-like reflexes, heightened senses, resistance to injury or pain, invulnerability, and skilled marksmanship are his special attributes.
Yeah, here's if you want to change it over to the
Yeah.
dot cam. This is the skull character that I guess Michael Berryman would have been playing something similar to this.
That was the original intention. It's really funny. You can go on IMDb and read about 3 paragraphs on it. Someone really went through and made an entire fan theory to support or rebuke this, depending on how you want to read it. It's really fascinating stuff. One of the scenes that was altered very severely because of that, or a scene that would have made a little bit more sense with this inclusion character, is how Eric is able to remove morphine from Sarah's mother's arm. He's if you read into what I'm talking about, apparently the scene that would have bridged that is Eric can use his powers to help people, but he shouldn't, because that's how you get stuck on Earth as a crow, like Michael Berryman's character was supposed
Oh.
to be.
Well, I didn't know any of this.
Yeah, there's
me
a
either.
lot of really, really cool stuff on the internet about the Crow and the franchise and everything else. I mean, it's a lot of he said, she said, unfortunately, but the character in mention is mentioned by both Alex Proyas and a producer on 2 different sets of director commentaries.
And James O'Barr loves drawing cars. Maybe that's why he made Eric Draven a mechanic, so he can get cars into there.
I don't remember if it was because James O'Barr was a mechanic or because James O'Barr liked driving cars. But he was definitely a car guy in some
Detroit.
capacity.
He's Detroit.
Motor City.
He was a military
yeah.
military guy. You know, I could see that being a job, or like, you know, maybe he's
Yep.
just working on cars or tanks or something like that. And then, you know, into the real world, yeah, you're taking that job as, you know, a mechanic or whatever.
And that Pink Dust comic is basically just about driving a sports car,
Oh wow, okay.
or like in the desert. There's a bit more to it. It's kind of like Roadrunner and
Wile E. Coyote.
Wile E. Coyote, except done by James O'Barr. But yeah. So Top Dollar is the main villain. Instead of Fun Boy, Sherry is changed to Sarah. Officer Albrecht is combined with Captain Hook, and he's also combined with Ghostbusters. The character that Ernie Hudson plays.
yeah.
So when he's not busting ghosts, he's busting perps in the mean streets of Detroit.
I can't watch anything he's in and not think about Ghostbusters.
Ernie Hudson? Oh
yeah.
yeah. Yep.
Well, you can watch the first half of Ghostbusters and not think about him.
No, because he's not in it.
Oh, well, he's great in everything he's in, though.
Yeah, no, he is. I like him as an actor, but he's one of those actors that I feel like,
Can't escape.
You're
I
like
can't-
You just say
yeah.
Ghostbusters.
yeah,
I
you
think
say
it's- yeah.
Ghostbusters, I think of him more so than anybody else too, and I don't know why that is.
Well, you know them from other things.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's it. Like Bill Murray's. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
The Crow has a
Or
weakness
maybe it's not interesting, but
in the film where he's vulnerable. And maybe the biggest bullet point here is Brandon Lee tragically killed in a prop gun accident in the film.
Accident's got to be used very loosely there.
well, a good thing that'll never happen again. That
No,
never happened.
That never
again.
happened once more.
Oh, jeez.
It is so wild. Like they still use bullets like blanks and things like that. Like, to make it look more
Well, just
realistic.
reading through like the whole description of it, it's just a complete series of moronic.
What's the
things.
so tell the story of that, because
They had the gun for some kind of shoot like the week before or something, and I don't know the technicalities between
Yeah.
it, but Another actor on the set was playing with it as well. Apparently, part of. Do you know what this is? Part of it's not a blank at that point. 'cause-
So it's a weird gray area, but basically like the blank got stuck in the chamber and shot another blank out.
And it launched the first blank.
And it launched
Yeah.
the first one right through Brandon Lee's chest. Michael Massey, the actor who played Fun Boy, was the unfortunate man who did this, and he retired from acting for a very long time after that. He had one small role in Seven afterwards, and up until the day he died, he never watched the film. He couldn't
Yeah.
bear to see what he had
Which,
done.
so-
even
Martin,
knowing-
you said that scene is not in the film.
It is
The-
not.
The rumor is that scene is in the film. That is not in the film.
So the
No.
gun was used 2 weeks before for close-ups with dummy cartridges fitted in with bullets, with no powder or primer. During the close-ups, they look more realistic than blank rounds.
I was about to say
then-
there's a difference between dummy. I don't know why I know this.
Okay.
The difference
so
between
the
dummy cartridges
dummy
and blank
cartridge
rounds.
got stuck in there, so it's basically a bullet. And then when you have the blank,
Is it? Oh, so is it dummy cartridge probably because there's no primer to it?
Yes.
But then you're sticking
you're
in something
adding a
that's just a
primer.
primer,
Oh,
so you're really making a
okay.
bullet in the gun.
Yep.
Whoa.
Due to probably budgetary reasons, they made the rounds themselves as well. So
Oh
there were
my
some other
gosh.
problems
That's
there.
insanity.
The person who was in charge of weapon supervision was released home because it was a late shoot.
This is the same thing as the Alec
yeah.
Baldwin shoot. It's like the exact same thing of just negligence and bad luck and how on earth could you let that happen?
I'm looking for. I was looking for a piece of information that I can't seem to find in my notes anymore. But there were several other accidents on set during the production.
Uh-oh.
With less fatal outcomes, but
Yeah.
I can't find the exact page I'm looking for right now. But I believe somebody broke an ankle and somebody else received a concussion because a light fell on them at one point, and there was just some sort of accident involving the broken. Oh, here we go. There were several accidents that befell the production crew, leading to a widespread belief that the film was cursed. Carpenter suffered serious burns on his upper body during the first day of filming. A manual worker had a screwdriver get embedded in his hand. An equipment truck burst into flames. A stuntman broke several ribs after falling through a roof. A rigger was horribly electrocuted. A disgruntled set sculptor went berserk and drove his car through the props room, destroying it. And a hurricane destroyed several of the sets.
Oh my God.
So this movie was plagued from the beginning.
Sounds like another day at the comic shop.
Wow.
Sounds like last Tuesday.
It does. Sounds like last Tuesday at the comic shop. We still have to hide that body, by the way.
Well,
You can do
we
it. You got plenty of time.
It's trash day.
customer offered to help yesterday.
That
so
is
we're
true. We had a
good, we're good.
customer offer to help us hide a dead body yesterday.
Well,
Thank
there
you.
you go. That's what you want. So there's some spin-off movies that were created. Crow, City of Angels, which was plagued with its own production issues, with the vision of it being controlled by several people and it being chopped
The
up.
subsequent things we're going to talk about, James O'Barr did not have any participation in.
Yeah.
Correct.
Most of them
Yes.
he was not asked to have any participation in
Crow's Salvation.
Why do you think that is?
because the studio already has the template and they think they can do with it. They think they know what they can do with it. So,
And they bought the rights to it, so
yeah,
I don't know.
So
if-
why bother paying him
That
anymore?
again, just
Yeah.
the dumb things that Hollywood does
just
of
to make
like
more money, or like using AI to write and
Yeah.
you know, write
Whereas,
scripts.
yeah, we can have AI write The Crow, or we can have James O'Barr, who created this character,
Have some input.
and see what his vision is. Martin, what do you I'm coming back to Turtles again, just because it's an 80 black
Turtle
and white.
power.
You make this iconic character that 40 years later, people are still talking about. You don't really make, like, there's no other real characters in this franchise, I think, that stand out,
Yeah.
per se. Is that the rest of your life? Is just like you think you got the Crow and you get residuals and like you can kind of pick and choose your things?
Yeah, I think
and
it gives you the freedom to either take it easy, do whatever you want, or to try to escape it. I think the two choices.
I might
but-
actually have notes on what James O'Barr did with his money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. Just give
I
me-
heard he
give
bought a
me one
comic shop.
Oh yeah,
Did he?
112 East Bridge Street.
the comic shop.
Let's see.
There's also Crow. I have City of Angels listed twice. They made it again.
They
Oh,
did.
that's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate.
Yeah, that was the one
movie
with
didn't happen,
Nicolas
yeah.
Cage and Meg Ryan. That was.
Oh yeah.
It was written by Kevin
Or,
Smith.
Yeah, that's
or-
why there's no colon in between those.
Wicked Prayer. Everybody agrees it's actually the best Crow movie.
It is. It is.
And there was a Crow TV series starring Mark DeCastos, who, I mean, if you're not going to have Brandon Lee, I know better now, but I would see Mark DeCastos in things like Crying Freeman, if you've ever seen
Yep.
that movie,
I haven't seen the movie.
and get him confused with Brandon Lee because they have similar appearance, like kind of like dark hair and like martial art type build.
I
continuing.
found
Okay, sorry. Continuing with the fun cursed nature of the property.
Or the James O'Barr.
On the TV show, a special effects explosion went wrong during filming on August 15th, 1998, when stuntman Mark Ackerstream was struck on the head and killed by flying debris.
wow.
So they're
my
just killing
God.
everybody.
Yeah.
Don't work on a Crow thing, I guess.
Yeah.
So quickly before we move on, with profits from the film, James O'Barr bought his mother a car and a surround system for himself, and then he donated the rest of the money to charity.
Oh wow!
I was really good friends with Brandon, so it just felt like blood money to me. He said at Comic-Con 2009. I didn't want to profit at his expense, and I kept that a secret for as long as I could. It's not charity if you don't get credit, or if you get credit for it.
Yeah, he obviously the Crow itself came out of him trying to heal
Process
from,
tragedy,
yeah,
yes.
and he said that it didn't work.
No, it made him more angry.
And
right?
then the Crow film comes, and there's no catharsis there because now someone else who he'd grown to like is now dead.
Yeah, that's just
he's-
surrounded by this guy's super tragic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Orphan.
Orphan.
Somehow he finds this collection of artists when he's like 13 or 14, though, that he's like knew Bernie Wrightson and Vaughn Baudet from Syracuse,
Wow.
Jeff Jones, Barry Windsor Smith. Finds a woman in his life that dies at age 18. You have your breakthrough success. You befriend. He actually befriended. What was the quote? The first thing Brandon Lee said when he met him, he was just staring at him. Then he gave him a quote from Blade Runner, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna like this guy." So like they immediately connected, and then he dies following through with your vision. Like this dude's just got trauma on trauma
Yep.
on trauma. Like I don't know what's tragedy is a fuel for art, Aaron. What does that look like?
What do you mean?
I like. How do you process? Again, it didn't actually. Well, I guess it didn't work. Martin, you were just saying,
Yeah,
like
he
like
said that, yeah.
he's trying to process this trauma and tragedy through his artwork, but he makes a comment like each page that he's drawing, he's just getting more and more angry.
Yeah.
Like it's wild.
Yeah, I
Where
don't
it
know. I
fueled
don't know
the
how you
pain
process
instead
that.
of
Or-
alleviating it.
Yeah. Because like I don't
Yeah.
think you create anything from anger,
No,
right?
no. I mean, sometimes you have a point of view on something that may have happened in the past, and you kind of want to hammer those things in. But I'm not really an angry guy, so yeah, I don't really create things from the point of view of anger because anger is not really sustainable either.
It's fun to see angry Aaron.
And making
It is fun to see
and
angry Aaron. That
making
doesn't happen very often.
And making comics is a sustained effort, so to me it doesn't go together. Maybe it goes together for some other folks, but not me. Anyway,
So not appropriate.
I thought that the Crow movie, rewatching it recently, it's a transitional film. I think in a lot of ways. So Batman 1989 comes out, and comic book movies are on the map.
Mm-hmm.
You get The Shadow, you get Ninja Turtles, you get some of these other things in the interim.
Objectively garbage.
Yeah.
I like the I like Ninja Turtles and The Shadow. I like both those movies.
I was thinking about The Punisher.
Oh, the 1989
Yes.
one. A good cast, but man, they it's kind of The Punisher, but kind of not. But anyway, I thought it was influential. It influenced things like, for sure, Blade, like the running on the rooftops and like the dark clothing, and then doing things at night. X-Men, even they had the dark uniforms. They're doing stuff at night. The Matrix.
That definitely influenced the Matrix,
oh,
right?
Definitely.
I think so.
Sin City, I think about like Marv jumping around on the rooftops.
Because the film has such, like even comparing it to Spawn, which was made 4 years or 2 years later.
Yeah.
It's just amazing what they did with the Crow and how they made it look,
Mm-hmm.
and even with very very infant stage CGI.
and the how everything was like miniatures and stuff.
Yep.
But I like the miniatures, like even in Tim Burton's Batman, the miniatures of the buildings and stuff, because it's art. it takes you into that other world, and because it actually is a real 3-dimensional sculpture, it has that believability to it more because it is a real thing. I mean, CGI is great, but like sometimes I like the character of the hand-built thing, and that is superior. That's one thing I've learned about like looking at CGI and then going back and seeing like claymation effects and stuff from the 80s. There's so much more character in the claymation stuff. Like it's just, I mean, yes, it's not as realistic, but it stays in your brain more. I think, at least for
There's
me.
more passion behind it.
Yes. So the next thing, this is the most important thing, the biggest takeaway I have for this podcast today. This is some of the best dialogue, and I actually didn't even copy it over right because I care so much. So at some point in the video, in the movie,
It's about 5 minutes in.
five minutes in,
No, it's about 15.
Officer
15?
Albrecht
Yeah. Thank you.
buys Sarah a hot dog, and she says, "I don't like onions. They give you the farts, big time." So we should just linger here, like a fart.
We do have a sponsor.
We do.
It's not
No one told me.
what we wanted necessarily for a sponsor, but
We're
It's not the
desperate-
sponsor we wanted. It's,
It's
the
not the
sponsor we need.
it's not the
desperately. Is that what
sponsor
you're
we
saying?
wanted. It's the sponsor we need.
And
so,
Evan was looking to recoup some of the money he spent on all this equipment. So
anyway, we do have this paid commercial here. If you could just bear with me.
Well, come on down to Uncle Angus Dildo Factory and Discount Wholesale located at 16 Thorny Bush in breathtaking Beavertown, Pennsylvania. With tours open to the public every Friday at 3 p.m., you and your family will be stuffed full of fun at our state-of-the-art rubber cock manufacturing facility. Silicon toys of all shapes and sizes for fun and cramming yourself out and others, your friends and your lovers. Uncle Angus Dildo Factory and Discount Wholesale also features a state-of-the-art gift shop where you can find the latest in plugs, balls, beads, and giant fake If we don't have the right toy for you to shove up your ass, we can design fucking all sorts of shit like fucking tentacle fists and fucking shit that looks like a horse. Come on down to Uncle Angus Dildo Factory and Discount Wholesale where the fucking crazy shit fucks up your whole asshole.
Thank you, Uncle Angus. Discount.
I heard you got $5 whole for that.
Maybe
No, there's something about 5 holes, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I can't really get into it, but it's better than nothing. So.
Don't tell me you got store credit.
Anyway,
Man, I don't think it's enough to apologize just to Jack Lee.
Apologies.
Or Jack Lee. Jack. Wow.
Jack Lee.
apologize to Jack Lee.
Wow.
I mean, we
yeah.
could apologize to Jack Lee
We could.
too.
We can. Yeah.
Apologies to Jack Lee, Jack Kirby,
to James
Aaron Lee,
O'Barr.
all the Lees, James O'Barr. Oh,
I got a craving now.
So,
for
oh,
what?
jeez. Who knows?
There's a crow draw along. What's that?
So, well, we don't have any paper and pencils in front of us, but you know, if we did, we could follow along with some of these different things to describe the crow and how we draw them. So, 80s, 90s goth glam rock grunge hair, some tapered lines above and below the eyes, some smile lines, a scar across the eyes and up to the left eye. That left eye is going to be lighter, like David Bowie. So, if
Oh, is that true?
David Bowie's
Yes.
pretty light. Yes. He was not a big guy.
we got it, nailed it. Yeah, so bring up the thing so the people can
Wasn't
see
worthy
this,
of
this
applause.
demo
man.
here.
I'm sorry. I'm
I'm
slow on
playing,
that.
I'm playing the demo. You're missing
Oh.
it. You're missing the demo.
I'm watching the demo.
No, but it's not
We're
up
no
here.
there. I'm sorry. We're playing at
Come
the demo.
on, man. So, and here I time lapsed my drawing of with an Eric Draven crow here real quick. Working on that last night inside Adobe Fresco, a program that's pretty fun. And I just put in some nice gray tones there. There we go. That's pretty good. I kind of crossed it with. Thank you. The kind of crossed the comic book and the movie version a little bit. So there's a little bit of a combination there. Like the eye scar was in there because I don't think they did that in the movie.
They did not.
Let's see, do we have anything else? Oh yeah, I just want to thank Comic Trips because I watched that video, Cartoonist Kayfabe, because they've done a ton of James O'Barr stuff, and Wikipedia.
You know what? We're gonna go a week without mentioning them. Just 1 week. One tiny week. 1 week.
It didn't work the week you weren't here because I brought them up.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, they do provide a lot of content.
I don't know. Martin, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Nope.
I think maybe that's it.
I feel pretty good about
I feel
that.
good about
think
it.
so, yeah.
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 You've been listening to The Comic Shop Does a Podcast. We've been talking about The Crow. I mean, we could talk about The Crow quite a bit more. Great artwork in this thing. Highly recommend. Not for everybody. Definitely a mature read, but a beautiful, beautiful book. If you like black and white art, I don't know if it gets any better than this.
This is my one of my first black and white comics.
It's a great one. I will say it's a masterpiece for what it is.
Yep.
It is a masterpiece.
agree.
I will not disagree.
I'm Aaron Z. Lee. You've been listening to The Comic Shop Does a Podcast.
Oh, I'm Evan Coy, here with special guest star
Counting Sheryl Crow, Martin Kinney.
and regular guest star.
Michael Draven.
Have a good night, everybody.
Big time.